I'm going to show you today how to do a bound neckline on a garment, a stretch one or not. What often it usually tells you to do in the pattern is to make a loop with your binding and then quarter it and attach it to the neckline. The problem with that is that usually the front neckline is lower than the back neckline, so it makes it quite difficult to fit it all in properly. So I'm going to show you what they do in industry, a slightly different way to do it, which is a bit quicker, to be honest. Well, that's quite a lot quicker. And so I tend to do this way all the time. Today I'm going to do it on this made by Jack's mum pattern, the beachcomber dress, which I'm really liking because you can make it out of lots of bits. I'm finding it quite a good way to use up my stash. So I'll show you how to do it with that one today, but you could do it on any t-shirt types top really, where you're going to have any kind of bound neckline. So the first thing I've done is I've got my piece of bias, and this is just a 2-inch strip of the fabric I'm using on the bias, and you just need to fold it in half. You don't need to do all that business with the bias binding maker, there's no need with this. And then the other thing I've done, this is my top, so I have sewn it together on just one shoulder seam. So that's my shoulder seam there, this is my back neckline, that's my front neckline, and that's the other shoulder seam that I've not yet sewn. It's really important that you leave that one. It doesn't matter which one you do, you just need to sew one shoulder seam together. And then now you can either do this on the machine or do it on the overlocker. The process is the same. I'm going to do it on the overlocker because I can, but the process is just the same whether you're doing it on a machine or on the overlocker. Okay, so I'm going to start at the back neckline. Doesn't matter whether you start at the back or the front. So I'm going to lie that down on the bottom, so the same whether it's on the machine or on the overlocker, and then my strip of bias is going to be folded with the neat edge of it towards the rest of the garment. The raw edges are all together, so you can just about see I've got 1, 2, 3 raw edges. And then when you start overlocking, I don't know if you're a lot of new at this, don't lift the foot with the lever, just lift it with your thumb to get the fabric in onto the feed dogs. Okay. And then once it's got going, so now that it's gripped on, now obviously you can't use pins anywhere near an overlocker, so this does train you to get away from using pins. And what I'm going to do is, as I'm attaching it, I am just going to slightly put the band section under a bit of tension. Not masses, I'm not stretching it to death, but it needs to be under a bit of tension, and that will help the rebound where we want it to go straight again afterwards. So just keep feeding it through and keeping a little bit of tension on the top on the band. Keep straightening up the neckline. Again, just a little bit of tension as I go around the corner especially. Now onto the front of the neckline. Just do a few inches at a time before you need to straighten it again. The beauty of this is it doesn't matter how long your band is, so long as it's longer than your neckline, you're not really going to have a problem. So what will now happen is that this will just pop up. Okay, because we've put a little bit of tension on it, its instinct, you know, the fabric automatically wants to stand upright again. Then all we're going to do is attach the other seam together, and then I'll show you. I'm going to attach the other seam on the arm, and then I'll show you how to finish it off. This is the trickiest bit. What you're trying to do is to get these two strips either side of the neckline to meet there, so that you don't end up with a dog leg at that seam. Now these are both the same width if you're pretty careful with your seam allowances. If you're not, you can always redo one a little bit to get them the same width. They need to be the same width so that this is going to meet here. Now, I don't need to do it with this fabric, but what I sometimes do is put a little bit of hand sew in there just to hold the pieces together so that when I put it through the overlocker they don't move apart. Obviously you can't put a pin in it, and a pin can actually distort it, so I probably wouldn't put a pin anyway. I tend to hand sew it if I'm going to do anything. So we'll have our two pieces together, and we always start at this edge. If you start at the other end, what happens is it will definitely be out by the time it gets to here. So always start at the side that is more crucial, that it's exact. Directional sewing is quite important with an overlocker especially, that you need to think about where you might have to correct something. So those two pieces go together. Again, you just use my thumb to lift the foot up, slide it up to the knife so they're not really going to move, and I'm just going to hold that edge taut while it gets going. Okay. So, and then finish off the rest of the shoulder seam. Here now is I've got a slight wonk on it, can you see? I've not quite matched it up properly because I didn't hand sew it, so I'm going to undo that and just re-hand sew that little bit because it will give me a much neater finish. I'm just showing you what will happen if you don't get those two pieces exact, and because this is obvious on your neckline and people will see it, it's quite important to try and get that bit as close to being accurate as you can. So I'm just going to unpick that last inch, hand sew that little bit and then redo it. Okay, so I've redone that edge. So that's a lot neater, and all I'm going to do to finish it off is I've threaded the tail of the overlocking onto a wide-eyed needle, which then I can go back through the stitching and just pull it a little bit, and then once more, and then that will tidy off that end, stop it unravelling. So now this neckline is finished. If I can turn it the right way out, there we go. So that's the back, that's the front. Wrap around so you can see what I'm doing. So once this is pressed and all that is nice and flat, you then have a choice. You can either turn this all the way to the inside, which if you've gone a little bit wobbly, that's an easy fix then. Just turn it all the way to the inside and top stitch the edge. Or you can just top stitch along right just above the seam line, which will catch down then this bit of overlocking stitch here. It'll keep it nice and flat and stop it flicking about when you're wearing the garment. But I usually do that after I've pressed it, so it needs a bit of an iron first. So now, as you can see, we're all done. It's a lot quicker, apart from me having to redo that little bit because I was rushing, but the rest of it will be fine. So that's the dress all finished. So as you can see, I've got a nice flat neckline, front and back. It's all lying nice and flat. So I'm not going to turn it under. Sometimes if I've gone a bit astray, I will turn it under, but I'm not going to need to with this one. I'm quite happy with it. I love the pockets on this dress. Oops, if I get further away, you might see it's got kind of quite nice deep pockets that I don't lose anything in. Quite a nice casual summer dress. I think I need to do a slight alteration on the sleeve. I think it needs to be, this is quite a structured fabric this. It's a cotton sateen, which is a cotton with 5% lycra in it. So it's got a bit of stretch that makes it comfortable, but I could do with a little bit more in my arms, I think. So I'm going to do an alteration to my pattern to allow for a bit more on that next time. I've made this a couple of times in thinner jersey and they've been absolutely fine. But this one's a little bit on the tight side. Still wearable though. I love it. Hope you found that useful. See you soon.